Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever set a goal that you thought would change your life, only to find yourself right back where you started a few months later? We've all been there. We set big, ambitious goals because we believe they'll bring us success, happiness, or fulfillment. But what if I told you that the secret to real, lasting change isn't in the goal itself, but in how we approach it? Today, let's explore how to set real goals, the kind that don't just collect dust or get abandoned after a few weeks. Let's talk about the kind of goals that actually change your life. The starting point of any meaningful goal is not the result you expect to achieve, but the reason behind it. So often we get caught up in the end goal, the finish line that promises success, recognition, or some form of external validation. But if you focus solely on the destination, you may lose sight of why you even started the journey in the first place. Goals that are driven by the desire for a result without understanding the underlying motivation tend to be short-lived, hollow, and ultimately unfulfilling. Real, lasting change comes when you start with the reason, not the result. Think about it. How many times have you set a goal, whether it was losing weight, earning more money, or achieving a specific career milestone, only to feel unsatisfied once you achieved it? You may have reached the destination, but did you truly feel fulfilled? That's because the reason behind the goal, the deep personal motivation that connects you to the goal, wasn't clear from the outset. The reason is the anchor that keeps you grounded, especially during tough times. It's easy to stay motivated when everything is going well, but what happens when the road gets rocky? What happens when you're faced with challenges, setbacks, or moments of doubt? If your goal is built solely on the desire for the result, the paycheck, the title, the external approval, without a compelling reason driving you, the hard days will feel like burdens rather than opportunities to grow. Take, for instance, someone who wants to lose weight. If the goal is solely to fit into a certain dress size or to impress others with their appearance, then the motivation to stay consistent may wane over time. But if the goal is rooted in a desire to improve their health, feel more energetic, or be able to play with their kids without getting winded, then that why becomes a constant source of inspiration. It's not just about the external outcome. It's about becoming someone who values their well-being and is committed to long-term health. This deeper connection to the reason gives the goal meaning and purpose beyond mere numbers on a scale or compliments from others. Similarly, when it comes to career goals, many people focus on the end result, landing the prestigious job title, earning a specific salary, or gaining recognition. But if the only reason for pursuing such goals is to satisfy external expectations, then it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. On the other hand, if the reason is rooted in a passion for helping others, solving problems, or contributing to something larger than yourself, the journey itself becomes fulfilling no matter what external rewards come along the way. When you start with the reason, your goals become more than just checkpoints on a to-do list. They become a part of who you are and the person you're becoming. The process of achieving the goal isn't about achieving something you don't have. It's about aligning your actions with your core values and growing in the process. You don't just achieve the goal for the sake of the result, but because it reflects who you aspire to be. For example, let's say your goal is to write a book. If your reason for writing the book is to gain fame or make money, you might feel empty even if you achieve those things. But if your reason is to share your story, inspire others, or contribute to a body of knowledge, then the goal becomes meaningful. The reward is not the book deal or the sales numbers, it's the impact your work has on others, the lessons you learn during the writing process, and the way you grow as a person. In the end, focusing on the reason behind your goal transforms the journey. It's not just about the outcome, it's about the growth, the lessons, and the sense of fulfillment that come from pursuing something that truly matters. So the next time you set a goal, take a moment to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Make sure your reason is something that excites you, something that resonates with your values, and something that will inspire you long after the initial excitement fades. When the reason is strong, the results will follow. Ambition is often seen as the fuel that drives us to achieve great things. It pushes us to dream big, to strive for more, and to break through barriers. However, while ambition is essential for progress, it can sometimes cloud our judgment, leading us to set goals that are lofty, unclear, or unattainable. Without clarity, even the most ambitious goals can become overwhelming, leading to burnout, frustration, or even giving up altogether. The truth is, clarity is more important than ambition when it comes to setting and achieving meaningful goals. Ambition can make us dream of extraordinary accomplishments, like starting a successful business, writing a best-selling book, or achieving a level of financial success that allows us to retire early. These ambitions are often fueled by a desire for recognition, status, or success. However, when we chase goals based solely on ambition without clearly defining how to achieve them, we risk setting ourselves up for disappointment. Ambition can create a sense of urgency, but without clarity, it can push us in so many directions at once that we lose focus and end up making no real progress. Think of a person who sets out to become a millionaire. While the ambition of financial success is admirable, the lack of clarity about how to get there can lead to frustration. Ambition might drive them to invest in risky ventures or chase after opportunities that promise quick returns, but without a clear plan or understanding of what's involved, they might waste time, energy, and resources. Clarity would involve having a specific goal, like saving a certain amount each month, creating a budget, diversifying investments, or building a sustainable business. With clarity, every decision becomes intentional, every step calculated. The process becomes less about ambition for the sake of ambition, and more about building a clear path toward a well-defined goal. Clarity also enables us to measure progress effectively. Without clarity, we might set goals so broad that it's impossible to determine if we are moving in the right direction. Ambitious goals like becoming successful or improving my life are inspiring, but they lack the specifics that allow us to track progress. What does successful look like? How do we know we are improving? Clarity provides the benchmarks and milestones that help us assess our journey, making it easier to stay on track and adjust course when needed. With clear goals, we have the ability to celebrate small wins along the way, which motivates us to keep going even when the larger goal still seems far off. Furthermore, clarity helps us manage our time and resources effectively. Ambitious goals often require a lot of work, and without clarity, we might find ourselves spreading ourselves too thin or working on tasks that don't align with our overall vision. When we are clear about what we want to achieve and the steps we need to take, we can prioritize our efforts and focus on what truly matters. Instead of chasing after every opportunity that promises success, we can choose to work on the tasks that will bring us closest to our goal. Clarity also prevents us from falling into the trap of comparison. When we don't have clarity in our own goals, it's easy to look at others and feel like we're falling behind or that our ambitions aren't as impressive. Someone else's progress can make us doubt our own, especially if their journey seems faster or more glamorous. However, when we are clear about our own path, we stop comparing ourselves to others. We know where we're headed and we trust the process. We understand that success doesn't look the same for everyone, and it's not defined by the size of our goals, but by the clarity and intentionality behind them. When we set goals, it's easy to focus on the outcome, the result we want to achieve. We often think about what we want to have or what we want to accomplish: a new job, a healthier body, more money, or a successful business. These are all great goals, but focusing solely on the outcome can sometimes lead to frustration, burnout, or a sense of emptiness once the goal is achieved. This is because outcome-based goals tend to be external, focused on what we get rather than who we become. The true power of goal setting comes when we focus on identity-based goals, not outcome-based ones. Identity-based goals shift the focus from what we want to achieve to who we want to become. Rather than focusing on the end result, identity-based goals help us transform our behaviors, beliefs, and actions. When you set a goal based on your identity, you're not just aiming for an external outcome, you're working to become the kind of person who consistently embodies the qualities or values that will lead you to that outcome. Take the example of someone who wants to lose weight. If their goal is solely outcome-based, they may set a target of losing 20 pounds or fitting into a certain size. These goals are specific, measurable, and time-bound, but they don't address the deeper reasons why the person may struggle with maintaining weight loss over time. Once they reach the 20-pound mark, they may not feel the fulfillment they expected because the goal was focused on an external result rather than a transformation of their identity. On the other hand, if the person sets an identity-based goal like, I want to become someone who values health and well-being, they begin to focus on habits and behaviors that reflect this new identity. They start thinking differently about food, exercise, and lifestyle choices. Instead of focusing solely on the outcome of weight loss, they begin to embody the behaviors and mindset of someone who prioritizes their health. This transformation doesn't stop when they hit a number on the scale. It becomes a lifestyle, a reflection of their new identity. They are no longer trying to lose weight. They are becoming someone who naturally makes choices that lead to long-term health. Similarly, in a professional context, if someone sets a goal like, I want to be the CEO of a company, they may fixate on the title, the power, and the prestige that comes with it. But once they achieve the CEO position, they may realize that their sense of fulfillment is fleeting because the goal was driven by the desire for external recognition rather than a transformation of who they are as a leader. Now, if they instead set an identity-based goal like, I want to become a leader who inspires and empowers others, the focus shifts from the external title to the internal qualities that will allow them to lead effectively. They begin to focus on developing skills like communication, empathy, decision-making, and resilience. Instead of chasing the title, they embody the behaviors and mindset of a strong leader. Over time, this transformation may naturally lead them to a leadership position, but the real reward comes from the internal growth they experience in the process. When we set identity-based goals, we are focusing on becoming the type of person who naturally achieves the outcome we desire. It's no longer about striving for a specific result. It's about making changes in our habits, beliefs, and actions that reflect the identity we want to create. The key to lasting change is not forcing ourselves to do something just to achieve a goal, but to reshape the way we think about ourselves and our potential. Identity-based goals also bring a sense of fulfillment that outcome-based goals often fail to provide. The journey becomes the reward because it's not about the destination. It's about who we are becoming along the way. This makes the process of pursuing goals more meaningful and sustainable. Even when setbacks occur, identity-based goals provide a deeper sense of purpose and resilience. Instead of feeling defeated by a failure, we see it as an opportunity to align ourselves even more with the identity we're trying to cultivate. Ultimately, the most powerful goals are those that align with the person you want to become, not just the outcomes you want to achieve. By focusing on identity-based goals, you set yourself up for a transformation that goes beyond external results. You create lasting change because the goal becomes a reflection of your values, your beliefs, and your sense of self. When you focus on becoming the person you want to be, the outcomes will naturally follow, and they will feel far more meaningful because they will reflect the authentic growth and development you've experienced. Discipline is often seen as the cornerstone of success. It's the ability to stay focused, to push through challenges, and to maintain consistency over time. For many, the idea of discipline can be daunting. It often brings to mind rigid routines, long hours, and sacrifices. We think of it as something that requires immense willpower and strength, a constant fight against distractions and temptation. But what if discipline didn't have to feel so forced? What if instead of requiring immense effort to maintain, discipline was simply a natural byproduct of alignment? When your goals, values, and actions are aligned, discipline becomes effortless. Rather than forcing yourself to stay on track, you'll be naturally drawn to your goal. You'll want to keep moving forward, not because you have to, but because you want to. The reason behind this is simple. Alignment creates a sense of purpose, and purpose fuels motivation. When everything in your life is aligned, when your actions reflect your values and your goals reflect your identity, discipline flows freely. Let's break this down. Imagine someone who has a goal to get fit. If they view exercise as a chore, something they have to do to look better or fit into a certain image, they may struggle with consistency. They might have to force themselves to work out, battling feelings of resistance every time they go to the gym. On the other hand, if the person's goal is aligned with their core values, for instance, if they see fitness as a way to honor their health, boost their energy, or feel more confident in their body, then discipline becomes a natural byproduct. The motivation isn't coming from an external desire to conform to a standard, but from an internal drive to live in accordance with their values. The goal becomes part of who they are, and their actions reflect that. This alignment is what makes the process feel effortless. The person doesn't need to force themselves to work out because their goal is connected to something deeper than appearance or fleeting motivation. They are driven by the purpose of living a healthy, vibrant life, which makes staying disciplined easier. The actions they take are no longer driven by resistance. They're simply an extension of their commitment to their own well-being. The same principle applies in any area of life. Whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal development, discipline is easier to maintain when our actions are aligned with our values. When we are clear on our why, when we know the deeper reason behind our goals, the path to achieving them becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Think about a person pursuing a career they are passionate about. If their work is aligned with their values and strengths, they will naturally find the discipline to keep improving, to put in the hours, and to face challenges head on. Their work won't feel like a series of tasks they need to check off. Instead, it will feel like a calling. The discipline to keep learning and growing comes from the fact that their goals are in harmony with their identity. They don't need to force themselves to take the next step because they are naturally motivated by the alignment between their work and their values. The opposite is true when there's a lack of alignment. If your goals are not connected to your values, discipline feels like an uphill battle. It's hard to stay motivated when you're pursuing a goal for the wrong reasons. When your actions are not aligned with your deeper desires, they can feel empty and exhausting. You might push yourself to achieve something, but without the underlying purpose, you'll eventually burn out. This is why so many people struggle with consistency or give up on their goals altogether. Without alignment, the motivation to keep going simply isn't sustainable. The key to making discipline easier is not to rely on sheer willpower, but to align your goals with who you are and what you truly want. When your goal is an expression of your core values and aspirations, you don't have to force yourself to stay disciplined. You'll naturally be pulled toward it, not pushed. It's about making your actions match your beliefs. When there is harmony between what you want and who you are, discipline will follow naturally. This doesn't mean that challenges won't arise. Of course, there will be difficult days when you feel tired or unmotivated. But even in those moments, if you are aligned with your deeper purpose, you'll find the strength to push through. Discipline in this sense becomes effortless because it's not coming from a place of external pressure. It's coming from an internal drive that makes every step feel purposeful. Ultimately, discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. It's about creating alignment between your actions and your values so that discipline becomes a natural outcome of living authentically. When you align your goals with your core beliefs and desires, you don't need to rely on willpower alone. Discipline will come from the deep, inherent motivation that exists when you're truly connected to what matters most to you. When it comes to achieving our goals, many of us have an ideal vision of success, a picture of perfection that we believe we should strive toward. We often get caught up in the desire to reach the endpoint flawlessly, to hit every milestone without error, and to have everything in place before we can call ourselves successful. This desire for perfection can be paralyzing and overwhelming, causing us to either burn out or quit altogether when things don't go according to plan. However, the real key to progress isn't perfection, it's tracking the steps we're taking along the way. Progress, not perfection, should be the focus if we want to create lasting change and fulfillment. Perfection can be an elusive and often unrealistic standard. It's easy to look at others who seem to have it all together, their career, relationships, health, and every aspect of their life looking polished, and feel like we're falling short. This comparison can make us think that unless we do everything perfectly, we won't succeed or be worthy of success. The danger in this mindset is that it discourages us from starting or continuing the journey in the first place. We don't want to make mistakes, so we avoid taking action or give up when we don't see instant results. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. It's not about achieving a flawless result. It's about making continuous improvements and moving forward step by step. Instead of focusing on getting everything right, we should shift our attention to tracking the progress we're making, no matter how small it may seem. This mindset allows us to celebrate the journey, learn from our mistakes, and build the momentum needed to reach our goal. Tracking progress is about focusing on the incremental changes that occur over time. Instead of fixating on the end goal and how far away it feels, progress helps us recognize that each action we take is a step toward where we want to be. It's the small victories, the consistent efforts that compound over time and create meaningful results. When we track our progress, we see that every effort counts, whether it's a slight improvement, a lesson learned from failure, or a new habit developed. These small wins, when recognized, provide the motivation we need to keep going. For example, let's say you have a goal to write a book. If you focus only on the perfection of the final draft, you might find yourself stalling or procrastinating, afraid that the words won't be perfect. However, if you shift your focus to tracking your daily progress, such as writing a certain number of words each day, completing a chapter, or refining your ideas, you begin to see that each small action is building momentum. Even if your writing isn't perfect, every day you're one step closer to your goal, and that's worth celebrating. The process becomes less intimidating when you can appreciate the progress you've made instead of only focusing on the unattainable goal of perfection. Tracking progress also helps us recognize and overcome challenges. Perfection often leads us to avoid mistakes, but mistakes are where growth happens. When we track progress, we can assess what's working and what's not. We can see where we've stumbled and adjust accordingly. This way, failure is not a setback, but an opportunity to learn and improve. Progress encourages us to treat challenges as part of the process, not as reasons to quit. Another benefit of tracking progress is that it helps us build confidence. As we see the small but consistent steps we're taking, we gain a sense of accomplishment. This confidence propels us forward, reinforcing our belief in our ability to achieve our goals. Perfection, on the other hand, can make us feel inadequate because it sets an impossible standard. When we focus on progress, we give ourselves credit for the effort we put in, which boosts our self-esteem and keeps us motivated. Moreover, tracking progress keeps us grounded in the present. It reminds us that success is a journey, not just a destination. Perfection focuses on the future, the idealized end result that we may never fully reach. But when we track progress, we become aware of the present moment and the small victories we are accumulating. We enjoy the process rather than stressing over an outcome that may or may not happen exactly as we envision. Ultimately, the pursuit of perfection can lead to frustration and inaction. The key to sustainable success is tracking progress, focusing on the small, consistent steps that lead us to our goals. By tracking progress, we shift our mindset from one of self-criticism and fear of failure to one of celebration and growth. We recognize that every step forward, no matter how small, is part of the journey, and that perfection is not required for success. Instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, we learn to appreciate the progress we're making, trusting that it will lead us to our desired destination. In doing so, we create a process that's rewarding, fulfilling, and most importantly, sustainable. When we set goals, it's common to think about what we want for ourselves, our desires, ambitions, and personal achievements. These goals might revolve around improving our career, enhancing our health, or achieving financial success. While there's nothing wrong with having personal goals, true fulfillment and long-lasting impact come from making our goals bigger than just our own desires. The most powerful goals are those that extend beyond ourselves, that serve a greater purpose, and that contribute to something bigger than our own success. By making our goals bigger than we are, we align ourselves with a purpose that transcends personal gain, and in doing so, we experience a deeper sense of meaning, fulfillment, and motivation. When goals are centered solely on personal achievement, it can be easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. There's a sense of satisfaction in achieving something for yourself, but that satisfaction can be fleeting. Once the goal is achieved, the sense of accomplishment may dissipate, and you might find yourself searching for the next challenge, but still feeling unfulfilled. This is where making your goals bigger than you comes into play. And when you frame your goals within the context of a larger purpose, they no longer become just about you, they become about the impact you have on others, the legacy you leave, and the ways in which your actions contribute to the world around you. A great example of this is the difference between setting a goal to make a certain amount of money versus setting a goal to create a business that provides value to others. While financial success may be a part of that business, it's not the sole focus. The primary objective is to solve a problem, meet a need, or offer something that enhances the lives of others. When your goal is tied to creating something bigger than yourself, your drive to succeed is fueled by the desire to contribute, to make a difference, and to leave a positive impact on the world. This larger vision brings a sense of purpose that keeps you motivated through challenges, setbacks, and the inevitable obstacles along the way. The same principle applies in personal development. For instance, instead of simply setting a goal to lose weight or get in shape for the sake of looking better, consider setting a goal to become the healthiest version of yourself so you can serve others more effectively. Whether it's being able to have the energy to care for your family, perform better at your job, or contribute to causes you care about, making your health a tool to serve others gives your efforts a deeper sense of meaning. The goal becomes less about personal vanity and more about creating a well-being that allows you to give more to the world around you. When we make our goals bigger than ourselves, we also tap into a sense of connection. We begin to see our lives as part of a larger community, and we recognize that our individual success is intertwined with the success of others. The satisfaction from achieving these larger goals comes not from personal gain, but from knowing that our actions have had a positive impact on those around us. It fosters a sense of interdependence, reminding us that we are not isolated in our pursuits, but connected to a network of people and causes that benefit from our efforts. Moreover, having a goal that's bigger than yourself helps you navigate setbacks with resilience. If a goal is solely personal, a failure can feel like a complete loss, but when the goal is aligned with a larger purpose, setbacks are seen as temporary obstacles in a greater journey. You can take solace in knowing that even in difficult moments, you're still contributing to something meaningful. The bigger vision becomes a source of strength, propelling you forward when things seem tough. Making your goals bigger than you also allows you to leave a legacy that extends far beyond your lifetime. When you focus on creating something that serves others or contributes to the greater good, your impact doesn't end when you reach the end of your life. Your efforts continue to influence and inspire others long after you're gone. Whether it's through the people you've helped, the projects you've started, or the positive changes you've made in the world, the ripple effect of your larger goals can last for generations. Incorporating a purpose larger than yourself into your goals doesn't just provide a sense of fulfillment, it drives you to pursue your best work. It's easier to stay committed to something that has meaning, something that speaks to your core values and connects to your vision for the world. When your goals are grounded in a greater purpose, every step forward feels more significant. You're not just moving for your own benefit, you're contributing to something greater, and that makes the effort worthwhile. Ultimately, the most powerful and transformative goals are those that are bigger than you. By focusing on contributing to the greater good, you not only find deeper meaning and fulfillment, but you also create a lasting impact. When your goals serve something larger than your own success, your motivations become stronger, your resilience deepens, and your sense of purpose becomes clearer.